As cute and fluffy as the adorable Easter Bunny might be, having a pet rabbit requires a lot more work than most people actually expect. Red Rover is an organization that regularly brings animals from crisis to care. And here to tell us more about it and what we need to consider, too, before actually bringing a rabbit into our lives as a pet is Red Rover President and CEO Nicole. So, Nicole, we love rabbits. We love bunnies. They're absolutely adorable. And I think a lot of people assume that they're like a giant stuffed animal. They're snuggly and they want to be held, and that they're just a great social animal to have. But that's not necessarily the reality, depending on most situations. So I would love if you could help our viewers understand if they're considering getting a rabbit or gifting a rabbit, what's something that they really need to stop and think about?
Yes, they can be wonderful companions, but definitely not a great impulse buy. They're so cute and so adorable. A lot of people just, go ahead and purchase one without really doing the research. So they take a lot of time, just as much time as a cat and a dog. And they also really require specialized care. They have to go to a special veterinarian who understands rabbits. They take a lot more money than people expect. They do need to be spayed and neutered, just like dogs and cats. And a lot of times people think they are a great starter pet, but in reality, they're not great with most kids. You have to have a lot of patience, spend time on the floor with a rabbit. They're better indoors than outside, especially with the Sacramento heat. They don't do well in temperatures above 80 degrees. So that means you really do have to have them inside.
And let's talk about the size of the cage or space that this animal requires, because from past experiences of other rabbit owners I've encountered, I've seen people try to keep this pet in a very small enclosed space, but it requires room.
They do. They need really, ideally exercise, spending time with them indoors, especially if it's hot outside, is the best. And that requires litter box training. You have to spend a lot of time on the floor with them. They need to come to you. They can be wonderful companions, but if a child is trying to pick up a rabbit, they don't really like to be held. And they're so cute and snuggly. Most children are going to have a really hard time not wanting to snuggle with a rabbit when that's not really what the rabbit wants. And so trying to get a child to understand a rabbit's perspective is something we actually work at Red Rover.
Oh, wonderful.
So we have a program called Red Rover Readers, and we help children think from the perspective of an animal.
I love that. And I see you have an example, too, of a book right here.
So this is one of the books, The Forgotten Rabbit. And this book really helps children understand, thinking from a rabbit's perspective, and tells a story of a rabbit who was an impulse gift. So the beginning of the story, the children get a rabbit and eventually lose interest. They become bored after a while, which is very common. And then a new home, the rabbit finds a new home where the person spends a lot of time and understands the rabbit and even trains it to do agility. So it's a very heartwarming story that can help teach kids empathy and how to think from an animal's perspective, which is what we do at Red Rover.
And that's absolutely perfect. And I also think, too, that that's a lesson that a lot of adults need to learn, too, because they know their kids love rabbits, and they're like, oh, yeah, it's like getting them a gerbil or something. And it's like, no, it's not. And that we all need to be better informed before we bring any furry family member into the house.
They live a long time. They have a lot of requirements, and they're also the third most surrendered animal to shelters. So there is a big rabbit overpopulation problem.
And I'd love to share with our viewers, perhaps we do have some rabbit owners that are watching that are like, oh, no, I understand. I know how to care for this animal, and I would love to be able to help find some that have been displaced a new home. Where do they go?
There's so many animals, so many rabbits available for adoption. So the House Rabbit Society has a great website. People can find out where to go to adopt a rabbit. And definitely, adopting an adult can be a lot easier. You'll know the temperament. Maybe they'll already be spayed and neutered, so you don't have that cost. And you'll understand, are they going to be aggressive? Are they going to be sweet and gentle?
The animal has been able to mature. And so you understand that animal that much better. Thank you so much.
The following interview involves commercial content. The products and services featured appear as paid advertising.